Welcome to another edition of It's a Long Beach Thing. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and like us on Facebook on It's a Long Beach Thing. It's a great group. You can talk about everything about Long Beach, your business, whatever. We don't care as long as it's local about Long Beach. I have a tremendous show for you guys today. As you guys may know, I do a lot of coaching, and I do a lot of coaching for high school and college athletes on the mind. And one thing that I tell everyone, it's your story to write and your story to write alone. So you cannot give up your pen. And our guest today has done just that. He could have gone down another road, um, but he never gave up his pen with a lot of love from his parents, his mom, and now he runs a thriving business here in Long Beach that we're going to go all into. Jordan Barile. Jordan, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Paul. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on here.
Great. Well, shall we dive right in?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Um, I mean, touching on the
Well, I was going to
schooling.
ask you, what's
I
your
s-
association with Long Beach?
Yeah, sure. There we go. I am actually second generation Long Beach born and raised. My dad was born out here when his parents moved out from the East Coast. And that was because his dad helped a relative move out here from, I want to say, either New Jersey or New York. I know one of them will get upset with me for mixing those up. But he helped a relative move out here during winter and got out to Long Beach and was like, "What's going on with this weather?" And they said, "That's why we're moving here. It's Long Beach. It's always sunny. It's always amazing." And he got back home and said, "Honey, pack your bags. We're moving to Long Beach." Uh, my grandparents moved out here. A few other relatives moved out here. They bought a house and had my dad, and then yeah. We have a decently long history. I want to say 40-ish years that our family moved out here to Long Beach. So yeah. This
And
is
where did
this
you,
is home. This is all I know. Yeah.
right on. So where did you go to school?
So starting from elementary, I went to Minigant Elementary. I then got transferred to Lowell Elementary because in second grade I was diagnosed with really bad ADHD. Really struggled with paying attention, multiple choice questions, tests, studying, things like that. So I went from Gant to Lowell. Then when I graduated from Lowell, I went to Marshall Middle School. Only made it through sixth grade, and then was more or less kicked out. And so I went to a small school called Connections, and Connections was like 14 or so students and about 7 or 8 teachers, so pretty dang close to one-on-one learning. So that helped tremendously. Really, from the rest of my middle school years into my first half of high school, first half of the year of my high school year, uh, where I then transferred to Millikan High School. So went to Millikan and graduated from there.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because that's where your story begins, or obviously it begins at birth. But I want to
Sure.
talk about your story about your struggles with school because a lot of kids have struggles with school. ADHD
Yeah.
is something that a lot of kids struggle with, and there's some frustration and there's some thoughts in the back of their head, his or her head, going, am I going to do anything in life? Am I just going to be dependent on other people? Am I going to have my story? Am I going to be able to take back my pen? So
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit of those early on struggles and the help that you got to overcome them.
Yeah. Frustration is a key word that sticks out to me. And it wasn't that I was too dumb to take the test. It wasn't that I didn't care to take the test or write essays or whatever it was. I think it was just, once I knew, okay, I can answer these questions, my brain just kind of was like, all right, I'm done. Like I know this. It's boring. It didn't stimulate my brain to keep me interested. Especially when it was something like if I like history, I love hearing about a story or how things were shaped over hundreds of years, if not more, or even less. If it was just, like World War II always fascinated me. Like something so um large scale and it just was like why were people fighting over these things, why did it lead to so much like death and destruction, and so things like that really kept me intrigued. But when it was like, okay, now we're going to learn about math, it was like, I don't really like math. And so then I would, maybe answer a couple questions, and then literally the clock on the wall could distract me because, oh, it makes a ticking noise. And now I'm listening to, the ticks, of the clock every second. And then I hear a car drive by outside. I start thinking about, oh, what kind of dream car do I want? What kind of, Ferrari or whatever. And so I really struggled a lot in school with just being able to just like focus on the task at hand, the thing in front of me. Um, Even if it did kind of interest me, it still just wasn't enough. So I really struggled a lot, especially in like my elementary and middle school ages, because it just when with ADHD, you have that, you know, this heightened level of energy that you want to just like put into something. But when you're sitting there doing multiple choices, it's like there's only so much energy you can get out and creativity. And so it really made it difficult. To me, school is kind of like a cookie cutter. And if you fit the mold, you slide right through and everything looks great. But if you don't fit that mold, it just is kind of like you get discarded to the side, right? And that was, more or less the simple version of my story. Is just I you have 28 students and me and one other student don't really mesh. So you kind of just like, okay, you two are loud, obnoxious. You're making too many jokes. You're, disruptive. So we're gonna, push you off to the side so the other kids who are, fitting this mold can really thrive and learn. So it was difficult. I didn't really know where I was headed. I didn't know if I would even be able to do anything helpful. When people would talk about, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? My dad was already a plumber. He started the company when I was about 1 years old. So a lot of people think, oh, well, it's family business. Like, obviously, you're going to go into that. But, I thought about being a firefighter, a police officer, join the military. You know, I was very into video games when I was in middle school and high school. So I thought maybe I'll get into game design, graphic design, something with a computer. Um, but nothing really interested me enough to get me to actually pursue it. But not even so much the lack of interest. It was more just, well, how could I do that? Like, how could I be a police officer? I can't even, remember where I put my socks. How am I supposed to remember, the description of a guy who's running off with some merchandise he stole? There are a
Let
lot
me
of
let me pause
things.
you one
Yeah.
second, Jordan, so the viewers may not know. What does ADHD stand for?
So, great question. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I believe that sounds right. And so it's a mix of not being able to pay attention and being like, you get jittery, like you're tapping your foot a lot, you're constantly like you're aware of everything around you. If you're eating in a restaurant, you're hearing everyone's conversation at once, yet you're also noticing like, everyone's wrinkle in their shirts. It's a really like you're over in tuned and then also overwhelmed, so you just can't even like process some of the information that's coming your way. Like you could be having a conversation with someone at your table, but you're hearing seven other conversations going on around you. So it really, yeah, it just really scrambles your brain a lot of the time.
So something that I wanted to get into is you were talking about, you mentioned math. That wasn't a
Yeah.
subject that excited you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you graduated high school. I shouldn't say
Hmm.
obviously you did graduate high school. We've had this
Right.
conversation. So you had to overcome some things
Definitely.
to take these math tests, and
Yeah.
I'd like to know what exercises or what you were able to do to be able to take these tests when you had the clock ticking, when the car
Yeah.
drove by. What
Yeah.
helped you get through these tests so that you could graduate high school?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I absolutely hated homework. I did not like to go home, like learn on my own, things like that. Thankfully, I truly give a lot of credit to my mom when it comes to like my schooling because she really would make sure to like stay on top of like, hey, did you complete your homework? Are you working on it? Where are you at? How's it going? And she would sit there with me and sometimes try and like work it out with me. Um, but at the same time, my mom was learning too. She didn't have. Well, I don't know if she had ADHD. I don't know. I don't recall her ever telling stories about her struggling in school. But to her, she didn't really know like what do I do with this kid who, like my other kids, can they come home, they do their homework, and they're done. This one kid is like, Mom, how do I, what do I do with this? I just hand her a sack of paper. What do I do with this? I don't know. And she said, well, you start at the top and work your way down. But yeah, a lot of credit to my mom. She made sure to stay on top of things, made sure I was organized. And I just think, you know, doing what I could while I could. And what that means is you work on something, there's no quota. There's no, you know, you have to say there's 50 questions. You don't have to do all 50. You don't even have to do 20. You don't even have to do 10. Do however much you can while your brain will let you focus on it and then break away. Okay, I got to number 7. I'm gonna break away, maybe play a couple of matches of my game, set a timer or something, and then when I kind of start glancing over at my homework again, it's like, okay, pause your game or finish that match, get back to homework. Oh, now I did 20 more. Now I'm at 27. Okay, back to my game, boom, boom, boom. But when you tell your mom, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna do some of this homework, but I'm also gonna play video games," they're like, that doesn't sound very productive. But when you when you stay on top of, hey, you know, how to say it, not only am I going to do my homework, but I need to do it in a way that works for me and then show, you also then have to like go through with it and show, hey, mom, like it's been 2 hours. I probably could have, if I just focus on this, if I even could, I could get my homework done in an hour, but instead it's going to take me 2 hours and I'll get it all done. It's all right. And I got to play my game that helped encourage me to, you know, get back into it. It's kind of like tunnel vision and being in the trades, you can get that. Say you're soldering a bunch of pipe in a wall and you're like, "Oh, I need like one more thing. Let me go run to the truck and get it." You get it from the truck, you come back and everything's kind of crooked. Like, "Whoa, how did that happen?" Like I measured everything, it all looked right. But the thing is you're getting tunnel vision and you're so focused on these few solder joints that you're not looking at the big picture of, "Oh, but it's starting to lean a little bit." So that was kind of what helped me, with homework and things like that was being able to take a step back, take a breather, let your brain just reset, breathe, and then get back into it and finish it up.
So then you get into this, and I also want you to touch on this because I think this is a great thing that your mom helped you to do.
Mhm.
You told me straight up if it wasn't for your mom, you'd probably be a drug addict right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Oh, go ahead. Let
and
you.
I was gonna tell that story that maybe you were hanging out with the wrong people, and they're like, "Hey, come hang out with me. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, I'm finally doing well in school.
Yeah, definitely. And that is 110% a true story. When I was in high school, I would say probably 11th or 12th grade, my junior or senior year, I had a friend who started smoking weed. And maybe in this day and age, not a huge deal, but you can't be doing that in high school, even now. But it was even weed in general was illegal back then. So they would ditch class and ditch school. They would just completely leave the campus to smoke weed. And so they would he got another one of our mutual friends to join him. Then they were trying to get me to join them, and I said, "Look, I'm finally getting decent grades. I've got my life on track, and I truly just didn't want to disappoint my mom. She really put in so much time and effort into making sure I had all the help I needed and all like literally whatever I needed to succeed in life. Let's go down that direction. Let's see what you need. So when my friends were coming to me to say, "Hey, let's just class, let's go, smoke some weed, go have fun, whatever." I was like, look, I put my mom through enough. Like, literally, that's the first thought that came to my mind, and I said, I'm gonna pass, and I went to math class. I hated math, but I literally chose math over weed because I just wanted to make my mom proud and just get through high school. I just knew. I don't know if maybe my parents explained it a certain way or whatever, but I just knew I needed to get through high school. That was the biggest mission I had when I was in high school was I just need to get through it. Because then maybe because my parents were because my mom and my dad went to college, but my dad ended up in the trades starting a plumbing business. Um they were very big on we don't care if you want to go to college or go to work, but you're doing something productive after you graduate high school. So my mom tried to tell me the importance of you know, get good grades when you finish high school because say you don't go to college, that's all you have to show for yourself. If you don't have a job or anything and you're trying to get a job and you've just graduated high school, the only thing they're gonna look at is your grades in high school. So if they see all you got were C's and D's and whatever, however far down it went, at one point I knew, and then you're handing them a resume that says, "Hey, here's how I did in school." They're like, why the heck would they hire you, right? But so it's not like high school doesn't set the course for your future necessarily, but you really start off on a much better foot if you could at least show, "Hey, I did pretty good in high school." I personally did not have all straight A's at all. I had B's and C's, but it just showed like, hey, I cared enough to get through it. If I can make it through high school, like it just shows a little bit better than I couldn't even make it through high school. So that was super crucial that I pushed myself to just get through high school and just take it one step at a time. So yeah, I seriously give a lot of credit to my mom to just staying on top of things. I had very strict parents where they made sure, like, hey, careful who you hang out with. My mom really loved to have sayings. So one of her sayings was, "If you can't come home and tell me about it, you probably shouldn't have been doing it." So that was that always like even now like it rings in my head. Like, I obviously I'm 32 years old now. I tend to think I make good decisions now, but still, it's just like one of those things that just rings in my head. Like, just do good and be good, and good things will follow.
So you graduate high school and you're going, oh man, college. Well, I don't know what am I gonna do here? What was your thought
Yeah.
process after you graduate high school when you accomplished that great accomplishment of graduating high school?
Yeah. So, just before I graduated, leading up to that, my teacher asked me, "Hey, so what college you want to apply to?" And I said, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was, you know, uh, 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 you know, doing research and writing essays. And I was like, that just does not sound pleasant to me. But in the previous couple summers, I had actually worked for my dad to well, one, make some money. All I was doing at home was playing video games at the time, so he said, "You might as well go out, learn something, make some money." And I thought, okay, I'll buy more video games with the money I make. But what I learned was I wasn't really afraid to do plumbing work. In regards to, you have to go in crawl spaces, you have to deal with sewage, you have to deal with people, you have to, give people bad news sometimes, and deal with, money, a lot of hard work. You have to dig trenches, things like that. So when my teacher asked me what college I want to apply to, and what route I kind of want to go, I balance, I've got research and essays on one hand or crawl space and sewage in the other, and I picked crawl space and sewage because it just I I liked working with my hands, and the dirtiness and the grossness of the plumbing really didn't phase me at all. I mean, it just, I could wash my hands, but I can't, unfry my brain, trying to force myself to write an essay. So, it just was a pretty easy decision for me to decide. And I think I'm gonna get into the trades. And so,
Well, talk to me
thankfully,
about that
yeah,
conversation you had with your dad about that, because
yeah.
what was your dad's thought process through that?
He's a very realistic, down to earth kind of guy. And he in a way tried to talk me out of, not out of it, but he just wanted to have me take a step back and really think about if it's what I want to do. Because for him, no matter whether I'm the son or someone else, I, I can change how people think about Primo Plumbing, our company. So, that's his other baby was his business. So if I come in and I'm like, oh yeah, it's whatever, this customer's unhappy, but I don't really care. That not only hurts me, but it hurts him because it's his company and it's his business and it's his customers we're taking care of. So he really kind of, sat me down and said, really think about it because you need to show up every single day. You need to do the work no matter how hard it gets. And when people are, in distress, you have to answer that call and help them out. It doesn't matter if it's, 10 in the morning or 10 o'clock at night. You have to be there for them and help them. And at the time I was like, well, it's either hard work or essays. So yeah, this is what I wanted to do. And so yeah, I mean I started off being absolutely useless. I didn't know how to hold a screwdriver really, how to work channel locks, how to use the drain cleaning machines. I had to learn everything from the ground up, and I got all the crappy jobs, no pun intended. I had to dig trenches, deal with sewage, cut out drains, you name it. I had to do everything, and then as time progressed, I just kind of started to grow and grow, get more skills, get more responsibilities, get a little more confident in what I was doing, and so I went from the grunt out in the field doing all the stuff that the senior workers didn't want to do to then I was starting to answer the phones, dispatch calls, dispatch them to myself to go out do the calls. I was wearing a lot of hats because we've always been a really small family owned company. So it's crazy thinking back to how much I struggled in school to how far I've come now, and just I still have so many questions. I still have so much to learn, but it's all for something that I'm very passionate about and something that I truly love. Like I love helping people in their time of need. And I also love that no one's life is really in danger. So at the end of the day, we can wait till tomorrow if we really need to. We can reset, we can figure out how to tackle it from a different direction. So it just was my way. Like I learned how to fix plumbing so I can help people. That's my skill, and that's how I give back to the community, is to make sure they have, good, clean running water, and they have hot water to shower with and to cook with. And their gas works so they can use their stove and cook everything. So, um, yeah, I'm really passionate about it. And then the way my brain works, being able to work with my hands is just an incredible asset to me. I mean, it really, really helps. And yeah, I just couldn't be more grateful for this type of work.
When did you start to feel like, 'cause you started as basically a grunt,
Yeah.
using your term here?
Yeah.
When did you start to feel you're getting the flow of it, and when did you start to feel your dad giving you more and more responsibility?
Yeah, I would say the first couple years I was pretty, I was still in that grunt apprentice type of position. Honestly, I wouldn't even say apprentice. I would say I was a helper for 2 years. I just still was a little lost. I was still a little bit unsure. I didn't know for certain that plumbing was what I wanted to do. I still kind of looked around and talked to people to see what they did. I was always very curious to see if maybe there's something else out there for me. And I didn't truly understand the importance of our job, of what we do. And so I would butt heads with my dad a little bit in the first couple of years, to the point where I said, "Well, I don't need you, Dad. I'll go work somewhere else." And I applied to Lowe's, hoping, oh, they've got a plumbing department. I'll work in the Lowe's plumbing department. Well, they didn't have an opening for plumbing. They had an opening for electrical. So I said, oh, okay, I'll just apply to that. It's still a trade. I guess I could learn a little bit about electrical and voltage and wattage and whatnot. And I went in for an in-person interview, and all they really asked was, have you ever stolen from someone? What'd you do to make up to them? Have you ever, upset someone? How'd you make it up to them? And it was just a lot of questions about, like, are you gonna steal from us? Are you gonna treat us and your coworkers like crap? And it just kind of clicked, like, oh, what am I doing here? This is kind of a waste of time. I had just bought my first car. It was a 2014 Subaru Crosstrek, and I had already put a little bit of a down payment on and was making a few monthly payments. And you know, s- so when I told my dad I was gonna find something else to do, he said, "Well, you better figure it out quick, because your next monthly payment will be coming up before you know it." And so when I had walked out of that interview at Lowe's, I said, "Oh man, I'm wasting my time here. I just need to get my shit together and get back to work." And so I went, with my head hung low and my tail between my legs, I went back to my dad and said, all right, I'm gonna work for you." And he said, Not if your attitude stays the same. Like, you need to step up and show your worth keeping here. Just because you're my son doesn't mean it's a free ride. Like, you need to earn your place here." I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna do better." And so I did, and it still took. Now I was focused. After a couple months or so, I started really focus and learn about the plumbing trades. What kind of tools can I use to get the job done? What kind of material can I use to get the job done? And so then once I start to get good enough, he put me in my own truck. I started to do my own calls. Um, then and every step of the way, there's more roadblocks. There's, to me, oh, the customer's asking me questions now, and I don't know the answers. So I have to step outside, call my dad. Hey, they're asking me this, and it's just, that was my time to be a sponge and just learn everything. I learned a lot working with my dad, because he was just a master of what he did. He could walk into a house and it was like he had x-ray vision. He just knew where the pipes were in the wall. He knew where the drains were, being in the house versus crawling underneath. He just knew how everything worked and how it was run. Um, so I had to develop that skill set. And so over time, I got a lot better. I got better at answering customers' questions, finding the resources I needed if I didn't know the answer to the question, and just trying to not rely on, oh, let me call dad, let me call dad, let me call dad. It was okay, I need to figure this out because what if dad wasn't here? What if he's on vacation? What if something happened to him? I need to be able to, handle this stuff. So I really started to learn more and more. And then when I was pretty steadily completing jobs day after day, week after week, month after month in my own truck by myself, very minimal calls to my dad, he said, "Hey, why don't you start taking the calls too? Answering the phones, using the schedule, things like that." And so then I started to do that. But then there was another set of roadblocks for me of learning how to, answer the customer's question, working with, pricing, working with scheduling. You arrange a schedule and then someone calls back and says, "Oh, actually, does this time work?" But now it's interfering with someone else, and all that. So it just was a lot of learning different things. And as a small family-owned business, you wear a lot of hats. So it's not just all your job is to answer the phones. It's, all the other things that, go along with it because you don't have a whole huge team at your disposal to do each and every role. You're doing, five of the roles at once. So, yeah.
So, and now it seems like your dad has kind of backed off a little bit, and it seems like now you're kind of the face of Primo Plumbing.
Yeah.
When did that change, and what have you done to put the Jordan spin on it from your
Mm.
dad?
Yeah. So one of the things that truly helped me a lot was starting the trade school I went to. PHCC, so it's plumbing, heating, cooling contractors. And at that school, not only did I, learn a little bit more about the plumbing trade and just, code requirements, sizing houses, things like that, but I learned a lot more of, not learned so much, but just I met a lot of people that helped me. Um, some people owned their own plumbing company. Some people were vendors that we work with, so they were specialists on those products that I wasn't, 100% confident on. I was able to then start filling my phone with these contacts to help me find the right person to talk to and such. And then the other plumbing company owners really helped me out with just, hey, this is the only job I've ever had, the only company I've ever worked for. So all I've seen is all I know. So how do you guys, dispatch your technicians? How do you guys stock inventory? Do you have to go to the supply house every time you need a part? Or do you keep things, on site? Do you guys run out of your house or do you have a shop? And just seeing things that I had never seen before that sounds so simple and basic, but everything has a price tag attached to it. It's so easy to say, oh, yeah, buy a shop, store your trucks here, store the inventory. It's so nice. It is really nice, but it costs a lot of money. So, how do we get to that point? Because I wanted to make sure that I kept my dad's work ethic and I kept his way of helping customers, but also bringing in a little bit more of like a modern approach to things. I consider myself a super friendly, very upbeat person, whereas my dad is a little more serious and like no BS kind of guy. And that's great because his work ethic is untouchable. But when customers want to like sit there and ask questions and stuff, he's like, "Look, I got to get to the next job." So I wanted to make sure that we could. give the customers good quality service when we said we would be there, um, for the price we said we would do it for, but also be able to like take our time with the customer and provide just a quality experience, and also just, you know, something where they can ask their questions. Because at least for me, I really hate when I call up a company. Like I called up a place to get new tires for my car, but I wanted to change what I had on there. And I said, "Hey, do you guys sell this brand?" He said, "Yeah, anything else?" And it was like getting ready to hang up, and I was like, "Yeah, I actually have like a few more questions, but now I don't want to ask them because the way you respond makes it sound like, all right, can I hang up now?" So it's like, I don't really want to bother you now. But if you make it sound like, yeah, we do sell that brand. Do you have any questions about it or anything I can help you with? Like, oh, yeah, actually, have you guys ever dealt with this one or this style? And they can now give their experience on it. So that to me was super important. I don't want to make a customer feel like their time isn't important, because we charge a lot for our time. We're just like with anyone in the trades, like we are skilled professionals and we're worth a lot, but I want to make sure that they're getting the best value they possibly can, and getting the most important thing is getting all their questions answered. Because if they're not answered, how do they know they're making the right decision? And it's an investment in their property to protect it for the long run. So they want to make sure that, hey, we're not going to spend all this money and it's only good for a year or two. Like, is this a 10-year fix, a 50-year fix? Like, what are we talking about? And there's a lot of things that customers don't know to ask, and we try to bring up to them, hey, have you thought about, is this a house that you want to sell, or is this something where, you know, you want to hold on to it and maybe even pass it down to your kids? Because if that's the case, let's not pass them down something that's gonna crumble by the time you pass away. Now instead of going to your funeral and paying their respects and sharing, you know, lovely stories about their parents, they're, dealing with the water heater because they don't have hot water, and a pipe bursts because they've got the old galvanized main coming to the house. So, um, yeah, so the way I, spun, you know, hey, Primo is also mine is, you know, well, when I first started answering the phone, that was like a shock to a lot of customers, because every time they called, they would get my dad. So when I started answering, they would say, "Hey, Tom," and I'd say, "No, this is Jordan." And they're like, "Oh, can you have your dad give me a call when you get a chance?" And I'd say, "Sure, give me your name and number." And I'd write it down, and I'd hang up with them. I'd text it to my dad, and then 10 to 30 minutes later, I get a text, a kitchen sink stoppage with that person's information. I thought, well, that was a simple question I could have answered. Do you have a kitchen sink stoppage? So I realized it wasn't that they didn't want me and they wanted my dad. It was just I wasn't giving them the confidence of, yeah, how can I help you? So then I started changing how I answered the phone. I'd say, "Hey, this is Jordan with Primo Plumbing. How can I help you?" "Oh, hey, it's, so and so. Is your dad in?" "No, he's not in right now, but, is there something I can help you with?" "Oh, my whole house is stopped up, but whenever you get a chance, just let your dad know." I say, "Oh, I can help you with that. Not a problem. Let me get your info and I could be there probably in the next hour or two." And they say, "Oh, okay." And then in a couple hours, I'm there and I've taken care of their issue, and now everything's good. And so then I had the confidence to say, "I'm here to take care of you." And then I also go out to the job, take care of the job, and they're seeing, oh, Jordan can do it too. Okay. So I had to prove myself out in the field and on the phone. I'm here to help and I can help. And so once I did that, then it was more, okay, what can I do to make the business a little more efficient? My dad was using a pen and paper planner to, to schedule the whole day, the whole week. And so, I talked earlier about how, someone would call back and say, actually, could I move it to 2 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock? Now he's got to like kind of scratch out the time and put an arrow over to 2 p.m. instead of 10. And it just was a little hectic. And so when he wanted me to answer the phones and handle the scheduling, I told him I will do it on one condition. We need to have a digital calendars. So we made the switch to Google Calendar and we were able to sync up our calendars. So anything I added and anything he added, we could see. So we weren't double stacking anything. I didn't have to call him every night and say, "Hey, what do you have for, 11 a.m. tomorrow?" And then also write it in my book. So just making incremental upgrades to the company to just make things more efficient and effective. Then after doing that, then we ended up going to a CRM, which is a customer resource manager. So both the office and our field technicians on our phones have the schedule. We have the customer's information
So I want to
and
pause
all
you there
that.
for just a second. So for a while, was it just you and your dad working the business?
It was, yeah, yeah. So we've had, or he's had, I would say up to three employees at one time. What was like the peak. And then, it would, sometimes go down, then back up, and then down a little bit. And so for a time it was just me and my dad. And that was around the time where I was still working with him, learning. And then as it was getting really crazy and I was learning a lot more, then it made sense to for me to get in my own truck and we could, knock out two jobs at once. Um, and then when things would slow down, he'd stay at home and I'd, keep going out running calls. So yeah, I mean we've been small and right now we're at our largest, which is my dad, myself, and four other technicians.
So what is your vision with that? So it sounds like you're changing the model a little bit from kind of a mom and pop shop
Yeah.
to a LLC,
Well,
a corporation
the
type business.
yeah. So we are a incorporated and we always have been ever since my dad started the business, but it will always be a mom and pop shop. Ideally, I will be the next pop, and my wife will be the next mom of the mom and pop. So it's passing down to me, and I do plan to keep it with that same family feel. I mean, that's super important to me. I think it's probably the most important thing to me is to keep Primo a family friendly business. We work so much with word of mouth. Everything is oh, a friend of mine told me to call you guys and so here I am and it's like yeah, we're here to help. One of our vendors who works on our drain cleaning equipment said, "What I like about you guys is you hit singles, not home runs." And I didn't realize what he meant. And I said, "What do you mean by that?" And he said, "You go to a job, you get the job done, you take care of the customer, and you move on to the next one. You're not one of these big companies who's trying to get every dollar they possibly can from the customer so that you never have to worry about going back to them again." And I was like, yeah, that's completely it. Is we're just here to help you get the job done. Obviously, we want to offer options. So if you do want to knock everything out, okay, cool. We'll take care of that. But if you just want to get the issue resolved and move on with your day, we're here to help with that too. And I love that because not everyone has a bunch of money burning a hole in their pocket, especially the way the economy is now. There's so much unease and just, uncertainty, and there kind of always is. So, people aren't like, "Oh yeah, let's spend a bunch of money," right? They want to usually just, especially if the issue's kind of urgent, they just want to get it resolved and move on. And so then once the issue is resolved, maybe now they could take a breather and say, okay, do we want to do a little bit more of a long-term fix or do we want to just leave it the way it is? And whether they decide to leave it as is or move on to a bigger repair, we're still here for them again for the next phase. So that's, you know, next month, I mean, and it depends when this airs, but uh, April of 2025 will be 30 years in business since my dad started the company. And I like to say we're just getting started. I want to keep this going as long as I can. And, maybe I'll have a kid who also wants to take over. But if not, I just want to make sure it stays on the right track. And to us, a lot of people see the name Primo Plumbing and they think cousin plumbing, because in Spanish, primo means cousin. But our family's Italian, and in Italian, primo means first choice. And so I love to be the first thing that people come to mind when they think of plumbing is, oh yeah, Primo Plumbing. Like they're awesome. They took care of my friend or my relative. They charge an honest, fair price, and everything's cool, and it's been good for the last 5, 10 years. And there's customers we have that my dad was has been helping that family, and now I'm helping their kids. So the kids buy a house, and now it's second generation customer and second generation plumber. So like things like that really motivate me to keep it going and to just keep things headed in the same direction.
Yeah. But you are
Maybe growing a little bit, but
but you
yeah,
are expanding a little bit because
we are.
you,
Yeah,
you've been working out of your
we've been
home
small.
carrying those trucks there,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
now you're expanding to an actual shop in Signal Hill, and that's very
yeah.
exciting. So talk about
Super
that a little
exciting.
bit, and talk about you turning into from a plumber now
Yeah,
to basically you are now a business owner. You're an entrepreneur.
yeah, yeah,
Talk about that transition because that's
yeah.
different.
It's scary. I mean, I'll be, and that's the thing. I've always been a very upfront and honest person. When someone asks me like, "Oh, like should I start my own plumbing company?" It's like, "Well, where are you at in the plumbing industry? Have you been doing this for 10 plus years or no, I've been a helper at a company for a year. You have zero business starting a plumbing company then, unless a guy who can run everything for you out in the field, and then it takes a village. And so I've had incredible support from my parents, my mom just making sure I'm being a good person, from my dad just helping me learn a bit of the business side and a lot of the plumbing skills, and then just people also in the industry who have really helped me with the unknown and just finding out, what is possible, what is obtainable, and what's realistic. So, you know, for the future of Primo Plumbing, I don't know how big it'll get. What I like to do is just kind of go with the flow. Lately the flow has been we have four guys coming to my house every morning trying to find parking to then go to work, and maybe fine Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then Thursday and Friday when they're street sweeping, it's like, hey, I'm here. You see me driving by, but I'm still trying to find parking. Um, so I really wanted to find a place for the guys, not because we had to or needed to, but just because it made sense. I'm just trying to do something that's convenient for the business, the employees, and even the customers. Sometimes I get a call on the weekend, hey, my water heater's out and I need a new one. But because everything's just in my garage, I only have enough room for, uniforms, some minor equipment, and then I have my own personal things that I want to keep in the garage too. So, I don't have room for water heaters and toilets and things like that. So I have to, sometimes turn them away and say, look, I could do it Monday, but it's Saturday morning, and they don't want to wait 2 full days to have hot water, so they end up calling someone else. So, I'm trying to find a way forward that works for everyone. And so the shop was really just a, a great way to just make everyone's life a little bit easier. Makes mine a little bit more stressful because it's another bill to pay, right? But it just makes things more efficient. And to me, that was really important because I want to be able to help people at any day. We're a 24/7 emergency service company. We get calls late at night or on the weekend. So I just want to make sure we have the basic inventory to make sure we could take care of any call that comes in. So, yeah, it was just something that came up that, we've been looking for a long time to try and find a space to move our business into. But it wasn't easy. I mean, there are a lot of places that just, we have four big trucks we need to fit in this place. Um, and then we also want to have a little bit in regards to storage for equipment and material. So, it was a little difficult to find that space, but we're in the process of getting ready to move into it the next few days here. So super super exciting, and I know the guys are really pumped because like I said, the parking was just kind of starting to be a little bit of a nightmare. And I'm sure my neighbors will appreciate it. We have one van that has a backup beeper, and they've got to listen to that at least once a day when we come in for the end of the day. But yeah, just trying to be considerate to my neighbors, my community, my employees, and just making sure it works for the team. So,
I want to ask you this question, kind of going full circle. What do you think that ADHD has done as a superpower for you for the business that you're running?
yeah, I think it's helped me be able to multitask. There's especially when we were in the beginnings of growing, as I talked about wearing multiple hats, I would literally be under someone's sink, trying to, disconnect their old faucet while answering the phone to open up the calendar and take down their info, put them on the schedule, and then the customer's coming over to me to answer, to ask questions. So there was a lot of like being able to, like, you know kind of keep working on what you're doing but also helping something else, really helped me a lot in just being able to, like, boom boom boom, like there's all these things coming at you, and it's never stopped. Now I get emails, texts, phone calls, I get photos being sent to me, and I just constantly have things coming at me, and that's just at work. Then, I have my personal life, friends who may want to hang out, a wife who wants to, go out to dinner every once in a while, or just, have a lazy night in. There's a lot to manage and to juggle, and I think I haven't done a fantastic job at it, but we're always a work in progress, and every day you just need to keep improving. And if you fail, okay, just learn from that failure. What did I do wrong, and what could I do differently moving forwards? If I tell someone, yeah, I'll be there for this, birthday party, but then an emergency comes in and I don't let my friend know, hey, I'm not going to make it. And they're like, hey, dude, like, where are you? Next time I know, hey, I need to let them know if I'm bailing. It just, even little things like that. You just have to be able to multitask, intensely. And I think also, with the ADHD, just, it really makes you want to, well, I don't, at least for me, it's really made me want to work with my hands. So just making sure that, I can do what I need to do, in regards to, like, do I need to dig a trench? And then my next job is soldering pipe, and then my next job after that is replacing a water heater. It's knowing how to make your hands fix everything, and so you have to be very well versed. And so I'm not a master at any one thing, but I'm really good at a lot of different things. I think that's kind of like the ADHD special, I call it. Is like I'm not even in, like, for hobbies. I love photography, I love off-roading, I love camping, I love, going out and taking my dog to the park. I love, taking my wife out to, do her hobbies. But I'm not a really great photographer. I could get real good photos, and it's like good enough to get me by. So I'm good. I'm really good at the many things I do. And I think that's, I mean, I can't think of anything other than the ADHD that's just really kind of helped amplify that ability to just jump from one thing to another.
Absolutely. And I get it that you're probably not the first person people want to call because obviously there's an issue
Right.
with something.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to have somebody that is reliable and will take
Yeah.
care of the problem for you. So especially in Long Beach, we all want to have trusted people,
Definitely.
especially in plumbing and
Yeah.
mechanics and
Definitely.
everything like that. So
Electricians, all
how
that.
can people get in touch with you if they do have a plumbing issue with Primo Plumbing?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you could always check out our website, primoplumbing.net, just to see some of the services we offer. You could check our Google reviews from there, or even just Google us. But if you just need to give us a call, ask questions, we're not a lawyer. We don't charge to talk on the phone. Just give us a call, 562-429-1221. Call us, text us, send us photos of your leaky pipes, whatever it is, and that's definitely the best way to get a hold of us is just give us a phone call. We'll get your information down. That way we could create kind of like a customer profile for you. So even if you don't decide to go with us and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna, it turns out my cousin can help me. So never mind, I don't need your help. But then the cousin can't help and you call us back, we'll still have those photos and that maybe that chat thread. So it's not starting over
They called the
from
wrong Primo,
they called the wrong Primo. Yeah, yeah,
huh?
absolutely. So, yeah, our phone number is always the best way to reach us. And follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Primo Plumbing and Heating. And yeah, we're always here. Like I said, 24/7. We specialize in service and repair. We do everything from water lines, drain lines, gas lines, water heaters, toilets, faucets. If it's something that you deal with, any that might be plumbing related, just give us a call. Sometimes people think, "Oh, you guys work on toilets?" And it's like, yeah, absolutely. Like we can rebuild the toilet, we can replace the toilet, whatever you need. So yeah, I mean that's all we've done for years and years. So yeah.
And what do you want to leave our audience with?
Um, just shoot for the stars. I mean, if you think you can do it, try it. Don't talk yourself out of it because you don't think you can. Because I've done that way too many times, and it's just it's all it's done is delayed my success. And so, if someone, if present me went back 10 years ago and said, "Hey, dude, this is where you're gonna be," I'd be like, "No freaking way. It's just not possible."
Hmm.
But yet here I am. So, just learn what you can, be respectful, ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask for help. That's the biggest thing. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't want to burden this person or annoy this person, but if they're saying, hey, reach out to me if you need assistance, reach out to them, and if you have questions, reach out to me. I don't mind if you call the business number and say, hey, I have a son or me myself, I'm considering the trades, but maybe I want to go electrical. Like, what do I do? I will make sure to put you in touch with the right person. So don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to act because the more you wait, really the worse you make it on yourself.
I always like to end with a fun question. Where do you like to eat around town in Long Beach?
Yeah, there you go. I know I've listened to a few of your episodes, so I knew this was coming. Few of my absolute favorites are Baja Sonora, which is a great Mexican restaurant on Spring and Clark. We've done their plumbing too, so it's
Well,
good.
I'm friends with Mary from the Long Beach Rotary,
Yeah,
so I'm glad.
yeah. They're Mary and Mike are awesome people, and sometimes at dinner time they'll come out and just come over, say hey, and that's a sign of a true passionate business owner. So absolutely love them there. Valentino's on Second Street is incredible. Especially for like that's like my go-to lunch anytime I'm working around the Naples area. Mexihana's, I don't know if you've been there, but
Where's that?
that's like Palo Verde and Stearns. It's a Mexican uh what do they call that?
So it's right next to the Taco Bell, right?
Yeah, it's literally in the same parking lot with Taco
And
Bell
Avenue 3 is
and
right there as
Avenue
well.
3 and then Mexihana's, and they make such good food, and the portions are great. My wife and I love to split item called the LBC. It's for two people to split. It's got steak, chicken, lobster. It's so good. My mouth is already watering. Rounding third is great for, a bar to watch some sports games. Their food is good. I know you go there. It's an
Yep.
awesome place. Um, let's see where else. George's Greek is always really good. Can't go wrong with that. Cyclo Noodle is like a really good spot over by the traffic circle. Love their food there. They've got really good pho. And then I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciation, but
I've
Chang
never heard of
Rise,
it.
I think it's called. It's on Anaheim and I want to say let's say Anaheim near Redondo. Little tiny place on the corner. Their food, I think I want to say it's Thai food. It is insane how good it is. And
Wow.
they don't open till 4:30 p.m. and there's a line at the door every day at like 4:20. So you got to get there a little bit early, stand in line, but it is so worth the wait. It's super, super good.
Is it by that shack, that crab shack right there?
Yeah, kind of. So there's like the Bamboo Bar.
Oh, okay.
Right there. Yeah, there's
Oh, right.
Bamboo
Oh, right
Bar.
there. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So a
it's
little.
a, is it a Thai place?
I think it's Thai. I want to.
Okay. And they're not open for lunch. It's all
They might. You know what?
I
They
think
may
they're
be
open for
open for a
lunch.
window for lunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You are right about that.
Yeah.
Not breakfast. They
Okay,
have a
now I
window
know.
for
Yeah, now
lunch.
I know. I've been there.
Yeah, and
It's a
then they
great place.
close for a little bit and then reopen for dinner, and it's good. It's really good. Small place though, so you really gotta like just be patient,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, those are my. I mean, there's so many other places, but we
Those
need a
are
whole nother
those are
episode for that.
go-to. You
Big
know, that's
foodie.
nice because you're out and about in the community, so
Oh
you're an
yeah,
expert on
yeah.
that to pick up some
I'm
lunch,
driving
right?
by these places all the time, like, oh, I gotta go eat there. Yeah,
Yeah, right on.
good
Jordan,
stuff.
it's been a pleasure talking with
Thank you.
you. I love your energy. There's a stereotype, and I know you know this with plumbers to
Oh
be
yeah,
grunt
yeah,
and rude
yeah,
and do a half job, and
yeah.
you are single-handedly breaking that stereotype, my friend, and I hope
Yeah,
that
we're
you
trying.
can be able to change the industry by your honest way and the way
Yeah,
you're doing business because your model will thrive and other
yeah,
plumbers need to look to take stock on how you do
yeah.
business and maybe implement some of their strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We make sure we keep our shirts tucked in, no butt crack plumbers. Very professional, please and thank you. The last few guys I've hired, I didn't hire them because they knew everything about plumbing. I hired them because they were polite, they were respectful, they were humble, and they were eager to learn. So it truly shows when our customers interact with our other technicians is like wow, like they're really nice. Like they were so pleasant to deal with. And if I don't hear that back, like there's a huge issue to me. Like it's not a minor issue when they're a little bit I don't ever want to hear your employee was a little rude to me. That doesn't exist at Primo Plumbing. So yeah, we just, that's our thing, Primo quality.
Right on, Primo Plumbing. Well, it's been a Long Beach thing.